right. Peace, more. This video represents the views of the presenters, that's me, and our guests, if we have any say. And it's based off of our own research and like experience. Wanted to put that disclaimer out there, but what we're going to talk about today, well, you see the topic, talking about Moorish leaders married to Europeans, something that actually is not supposed to occur. But we're going to show you why that's not true. And we're going to stick to what our prophet brought. So this isn't about opinions. No one should be getting their feelings hurt or chiming in and, hey, I'm European. No one's talking about you personally. We're sticking to the prophet, the law, because that's law for us. We're going to show what the prophet Abu Ali established and speak on why he set it up this way and why it's wrong for people to be out of law. Speaking on this because from personal experience, I have witnessed within the Moorish Science Temple of America, grandchildren married to a European, and I know that's not supposed to occur. I can go and show you in the Quran and also in the other literature from the Prophet why that's not a law. Some of you may already know this, but just from some of the stuff that I put out on the internet, just to see where Moors' heads are at, most of us don't know. We have no idea. Most of us think it's just something you can just freestyle and just do your own thing, mix a little bit from here, mix a little bit from there, and just throw it up in the air or throw it against the wall and call it, whatever you want to call it. But that's not how it works. So there is law and order, and it's not just that anything goes type of deal. So we're going to show you why that's being said. And here we go, Morris. Let's go ahead and get started.
My words become things, all hail the king. Now I got him walking on water, covered in the blood of the Christ, a rubber glove and a knife. Prophet Muhammad came to restore the order. Spectators sit back and watch, slave ships pull off the dock, demigods round up the flock. Time running short, got a race against the hands of the clock. 2020 something, pull it off the lot. Posted on any block, you say a Henny shot. Pour a libation for the fallen, it's been a lot of death. Thefts, right over left, hard of a line right under my chest. That's a godlike, prolific, godlike. Money longer than sloth and abs, the flock tight. Meditation, slap boxing with Satan. Cracking the
peace to the gods. Solid and you train friendly. Wings spread wide, coming through angelic. Frankincense and myrrh be the essence, you can smell it. Rocking different colored stones, niggas think I'm psychedelic. Asiatics can never be gods, let them tell it. Cosmetically groomed, suede blazer with suede shoes. Smooth, don't have to prove that I paid dues. My track record speaks for itself. You hear the language, the dignity you see me with now. Came in the game with, I hang with imperial nobles, wine Kenobis, light bodies, etherically mobile, spiritual OGs, riding around.
Yeah. All praise due to Allah, and honors to the last prophet in these days and times. That's Drew Ali, that's Drew Ali. 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 It ain't no question where these lessons are coming from. In North Mex, I'm still flexing, dancing to the drums. They going dumb like, bruh, we ain't think you come from out of heaven, throw up the 7, sliding through the slums. Go 101 with my
Okay, here we go. More. So you see the topic up here, right? Let's hang on. Let me get this up. So we're going to be speaking about Moorish leaders married to Europeans. For the most part, that's something that shouldn't even really be occurring at all within our nation, right? Um, we're going to stick to what the prophet brought to show this, right? So this isn't really a question like what do you think? But we will open up the floor to questions, though. I mean, not to questions, but for Morris to chime in if you know want to come in and share what you think. But for the most part, this is what we're doing. We're sticking to what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought. That's what we're sticking to. So Morris can share their opinions, but at the end of the day, as far as we're concerned, your opinion doesn't really matter because we have law, we have order, we have law, order, we have structure. And so it's not just anything goes. But I will open up the floor. I'm going to put the link in here if anybody wants to join the live stream. Hang on. So, yeah, there's the link. If anybody does want to come in on the live stream, you can use that and you can come in here and share. But we already have the answer. So that was just put out there just to get a feeler, just to see where Moore's heads are at, to see what people actually understand. Because just for this question to be posed, like, is it acceptable for Grand Sheiks and the MSTA to be married to Europeans? One reason why I'm asking that is because I've seen this with my own eyes, right? Even with the temple that we joined, we didn't understand. We didn't know that the Grand Sheik of that temple was married to a European, right? Because the European wife wasn't there, wasn't at the meetings. It was in a different city too. So, you know, we have to travel to get there. But just saying, like, it wasn't known until like later on. Okay. Because if it was, there's no way we would have joined. Right. But I'm telling you this because I've seen it. And that is like flagrant violation. And if we're gonna uphold the prophet, we can't skirt around and let certain things go just because it fits our agenda. You know, say you want to put somebody in that's got your back and you know have plans. You know, you can't just put people in who don't fit the prerequisites set by the prophet. So as we get into this, Morris, keep this in mind. This is not an attack on the pale-skinned nations of Europe, people that you so-called white people. We don't call people white. We don't call them white. We don't call them black or yellow or anything else like that. But I'm just saying this is an attack on those people. I'm not saying that there's not any people of European descent that could be, you know, good, decent people. So it's not an attack. It's not an attack on people out there. There's some people out there that may think this is an attack on you because maybe you're with a pale-skinned European. But it's not an attack on you either. It's not an attack. It's not saying that you can't, you know, be decent and do your thing together. No, this is just sticking to what the prophet brought, you know, and it's not about your opinion. It's not about, you know, what people think. It's about the law. So we do have law. And also, this is keeping in mind, too, that there are Asiatics from Europe. I mean, there's a ton of people. There's a ton of people from the Caribbean, all over Africa that live in various parts of Europe. So we're talking specifically about the pale-skinned nations, right? And we know who those people are because those are descendants of the people who colonized the Americas and various parts of the world. And the prophet established order and structure for us to not desire to amalgamate into those families. Why? Because we've done that long enough. But we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. And, you know, the main reason I want to bring this up, though, is because we've seen flagrant violation. And when you allow things like that to occur, there's going to be more violations to come. It's just there's no way around it. And we need to know where we stand, Morris. We need to know where we stand. So let's go ahead and go into this. Well, let me look at the chat real quick. All right. So as I said, I just threw out some feelers just to see where people's heads are at. This is on in the Facebook group. If you're on Facebook, you can join that group, or you can put in a request to join. It's a private group. Almost 12,000 people in there. And this question was just asked a few hours ago. Is it acceptable for the Grand Sheiks and the MSTA to be married to Europeans? And then it says share references from Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Right? Because it doesn't really matter what your opinion is. We want to know what the law is. So some people know that. No, it's not. You read what's in the Quran. Right? Looks like most of the people are saying no, they understand. Right? What does amalgamate mean? The Prophet used the words of not desiring to amalgamate with the European nations of the earth. Christianity is for the Europeans' earthly salvation, while in the temple, the Moors' earthly and divine salvation. No. And then some people answering with emotions. Love has no color. Do what you want to do. That's fine. But sticking to the law. We're sticking to the law. Somebody just shared the definition of amalgamation, right? Now this brother, he's sticking to the Prophet. Said, Holy Koran, chapter 48, instruction 6. We as a clean and pure nation, descended from the inhabitants of Africa, do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed, for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. So this is what the Prophet established, and that's what we stick to. Okay, that's what we stick to. So I just wanted to put that out there just so you can see. Moors, though, for the most part, Moors are all over the place. You have some people trying to say that the Europeans are Asiatics too, right? We must unite, love our neighbors, love your enemies. The Prophet delivered his message to the nations. He's saying, yeah, it's okay for them to do that. He delivered his message to the world. People trying to include the Europeans as Moors as well, right? There's some tan, some darker skinned Europeans. So people are all over the place, but none of that matters, because what we're really doing is coming in to look at the law to see where we actually stand. And what we are ideally what we're supposed to be doing. Let me pull up another example too. But yeah, we just put this out there just to see where Moors' heads are at. Who's understanding what's really at play here. And for the most part, it looks like the Moors know, right? Everybody on YouTube saying no, 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 right? They're understanding. Some of us have no idea why people are saying this. So let's go ahead and get into the law and what people would say. And that for the to answer in the chat, that's definitely on the Supreme Grand Sheik, because it's not an indictment of the person or whatever union you're in before you come into the temple. It's not an indictment of people of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. It's not an indictment on any of these people, because regardless of what anybody else says, there's some people of European descent that are good people that will assist you and be friends and helpful to you, and your own people will be against you, right? Your own people will be against you, but the Europeans will help you. So this is definitely not an attack on people of European descent, or saying that it's bad for a person personally who's married to someone of European descent. It's not like that. It's not like that at all, because just as I said earlier, on a personal level, this person may be a good person, decent person. So it's not an attack. It's not. But it is on the leadership to uphold the Prophet no matter what. No matter what. You can't let your personal feelings or your own personal agenda come into play here. You've got to uphold the Prophet. And if you don't uphold the Prophet, then you're setting a bad example. Right? Setting a bad example. Hang on a second. How did that get up there? So I'm trying to share something. But yeah, just to answer that question in the chat, if the Supreme Grand Sheik is the one who okayed this, knowing that it's out of law, then that Supreme Grand Sheik was in violation. And it doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter who they're related to or what their position is. No, it doesn't matter. You're supposed to uphold the prophet. What did the prophet say? So let's go in and look at what the prophet said. So what's up here on the screen, for those that don't know, this is from chapter 8, 48. And I'll get to those questions in a second too. But this is from chapter 48 in the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Now, in verse 1, I'm going to read verse 1 because the prophet is trying to establish or set the tone. Like this is the last prophet in these days, who's Noble Drew Ali, who is prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. This is not the first time he said the great wrath is sure to come. So he's letting us know, even though when he speaks, he's trying to be hopeful that, hey, if America does what they're supposed to, if they do right by the Asiatics, this could be the greatest nation on earth. But at the same time, he lets it be known, man, the wrath is sure to come. That's why he's here, because it's sure to come. There's really no time to play. This is why I'm saying I wanted to read that, because he was prepared in due time. So he didn't come before his time in 1928. He came right on time, and we had a little grace period to get our stuff together. And in many ways, our nation is still in disarray. We still don't have it together. We still don't have the institutions for ourselves, for our children, right? The schools. We still don't have control of our own water supply and food and things that we need. And, a real nation is supposed to have elderly, right? It's supposed to have the youth, the middle age, the babies. It's not supposed to just be a bunch of men the same age or a bunch of women. And you're supposed to have families, right? Men and women that are married, that are raising their children together so that their children will grow up and be Moorish American. And so that they will have, eventually you'll have Moorish American grandparents. And the grandbabies are going to be Moorish American because their parents raised them that way. So you can't have a nation if you don't have that. And so it's still in disarray. It's still in disarray. And so coming to this, the prophet said, the wrath is sure to come upon the earth. And even though we're waking up, there's more people waking up, realizing they're Moors, we still haven't got it together. So we need to get it together. And we need to stick to the law. So verses 6 through 11 lay it down. It says, we as a clean and pure nation, descended from the inhabitants of Africa, do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Now, you cannot have leadership who don't fit this criteria, because then the leaders lead the way. So now you have a contradiction. Now you have a conflict or a conflict of interest. Because how are leaders going to lead the way if they're not doing what's in the Quran? So once again, this falls back on the leadership. And that it falls on the Supreme Grand Sheik, the Supreme Grand Council, the grand body, everybody who's in the position to say, no, this is out of law. So everyone who goes along just to get along is at fault. Okay? If Moors are trying to lower the bar, that means they don't follow the prophet. And if they don't follow the prophet, you need to get them up out of there. They need to be put on restriction. They cannot serve in leadership because they will blatantly not follow the prophet. That goes for the people who okayed it and those also who went along with it. Those who are in position. Because what does it say in Act 1? Somebody, what does it say in Act 1? The Grand Sheik and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the prophet. Many have interpreted that assistance of the prophet to mean the Supreme Grand Council, and there's reasons for that when you look at some of the literature from the prophet. But it says, and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So all of these people work together, not just to make law and enforce laws, but also to uphold the prophet. So if one or two, or even if many of these people are not doing their job, somewhere in there, you're going to have people that can hold the others accountable, which is what the grand body should be able to do. Because the grand body should be made up of the grand governors from across the nation. So things like this aren't even supposed to be able to occur. When you have a flagrant violation, there should be some Moors to stand up and uphold the prophet. Anyone who's in violation should be removed from office and placed on restriction, unable to serve in leadership. Islam, brother Molden Bay said there was no council when the divine constitution and bylaws were written. And that's why I said some Moors have interpreted that with the assistance of the prophet to mean the council. Some Moors have. All right. And I'll put the link in here again, just in case anybody wants to join in on the stream. Any Moors want to come in here and join in. And this isn't to beat up on any Moors. I mean, like I said, yeah, the temple that we joined, we didn't know the Grand Sheik was married to a European. Like, we didn't know that right away. We did find out later. One of the sisters there, good sister, informed us. But it wasn't like we were angry or nothing. We just knew, like, oh, that's not right. Because we can read. It wasn't first time reading chapter 48. So you once again, this is not an indictment on that brother or anyone else, because they're probably not the only ones. I mean, just from looking at what Moors are saying across the nation, people are thinking you can just do whatever you want. You see some people saying love is love. This isn't love and hate. We're not teaching hate. We're following our prophet. So we're going to discuss this and show why the prophet said that. This isn't about hatred. It's not about, being mean. Okay, it's not an attack on anyone. The prophet set this up for a reason. So why would he say that we as a clean and pure nation descended from the inhabitants of Africa do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the pale-skinned families or the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, right? Neither serve the gods of their religion, right? You're going to have a conflict of interest. It's going to be hard to raise these children as Moorish Americans. There's a conflict. Now, you may be able to do it, and that's cool for you, but you can't do it in leadership. You can't, because it's written there plain as day. This is the example. Leaders have to set the example. Okay, so therefore we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation. That was a political move, right? To unify the different European tribes, to unify under Christianity, Catholicism. It was a political move, and it got flipped on us too, didn't it? They flipped it on us, with the dumb diverses and the various laws or proclamations that the Pope put out to demonize the Saracens, the Moors, anywhere they found them. So that flipped on us. But hey, we're not getting into all that, right? So we're talking about why the prophet did this. So the prophet specifically is uplifting us so that we can return to the family of humans. Why? Because we, whether we realized it or not, had been, with the strike of a pen, removed from the family of humans. Hang on, Morris. Okay. I was wondering. Okay, here we go. Wondering what went on. The slides were down. Okay, here we go. Let's get this back up. Hang on, Morris. Okay, y'all didn't tell me I had the wrong slide up, but here we go. Here we go. So before I go on though, let me look into the chat and see what's being said. But just want to make sure it's understood. It's not an attack on any one person or people. It's just that we have to stick to what the prophet brought. If we don't stick to what the prophet brought, who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? We have so many Moors outside of the temple, have no idea what we're supposed to be doing. They're getting information from all over the place. Some of the information they're getting is reckless, is dangerous, can put them in harm's way. So who's supposed to be the rock, the solid rock of salvation? The temple. So if we're not following the prophet, nobody's following the prophet. That's a problem. So let's go here into the chat. Islam, everybody that's here. Islam. Let's not act like people are following law when the country is owned by them still. Do you bank with them? Is that okay? Maybe you could rephrase that. If you're asking a question, when the country's owned by them, do you still bank with them? Okay. Another question in here says, can a biracial child who claim their dominant seed, Asiatic, join or even lead the temple, even if their physical features favor more towards a pale European? So when you really look at that, what this is aimed at, what the temple is really here for, looking through the prophets' literature, which I'll pull up some examples for you. All right, hang on. It's for those, for the most part, who are classified as Negro. Okay. And man, what is up with this? Okay, slides are acting up. Just bear with me. Hang on, let me see if I can get this up in here. This stuff's acting crazy. So I'm gonna try to upload the slides and answer that. But what I'm saying is, when you look at the prophet's literature, when you look at what he wrote for us, it's obvious that that this was set up for those marked, with the marks of scorn. And there's some examples already on this slide. That's why I want to bring that back up. Just so, we don't want people trying to say we just up here just freestyling, making stuff up. And so the reason I'm saying that is because if this person is real, I guess what they call fair-skinned, but they have that black on their, even though they don't put that stuff on birth certificates anymore, but they could be classified as that. Their dad or mom or whatever is classified as that. Then that means they're Asiatic. Period. Doesn't matter really what their physical features are. And the reason I'm saying that is because, we have that obviously in Act 6. Right, with us, the members must proclaim their nationality. We're teaching the divine creed and nationality, so they know that they're not that they are part and parcel of this government, our government, this Asiatic government, and then know that they're not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians. So this person or these people who are real light skinned, if this is their line of descent for real, not just trying to, because there's some people who are of European descent, their parents were classified as white, both of their parents, and they're trying to claim, because just like everything that we do, there's other people that want to be down too. So this is not talking about them. This is talking about people who legitimately have Asiatic parents or have, one Asiatic parent, like the brother said, biracial, right? That person is still Asiatic, period. Now some Moors, I don't know, personally might have problems with them leading, but if they are on the law, if they understand, they follow the law, what's the problem? And this is just showing again, just more literature from the prophet, just showing that he came for us, right? The all members referred to in Acts 6 who must proclaim their nationality with us are what? The people who carry that misnomer. Negroes, colored folks, black people, Ethiopians, which today would have to be updated to include African Americans, right? So that's who we're talking about. So it's specifically for those people. And when you look in the divine origin of the Asiatic nations, you see all of these other people throughout Central and South America and the Caribbean or the Atlantis Islands included in that. Okay, because they're part of the family too. But he specifically came for us. All right, the prophet referred to the black codes and Negro acts in Act 6 when he said, know that they are not Negroes, colored folk, black people, right? Because those names were given by slaveholders in 1779, lasted until 1865. So he, specifically came for us. This is what it's about, getting us into the family of humans so that we can build for ourselves, do what we need to do. There's so many reasons why, right? There's Negro laws, Negro acts, black codes, right? So much that was done to separate us from who we truly are. And so it's like, can't we have something for ourselves, right? There's so many people that want to come and include everyone. Can't we build something for ourselves, right? The prophet was riding on the heels of Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association. And for those who don't understand Garvey, read up a little bit on him. Garvey was definitely not for interracial marriage. Okay? And he wouldn't have had leaders within his UNIA who were married to Europeans or pale-skinned Europeans. Okay? It's the truth. It's the truth. Okay, anyone who has problems with that, I don't know what to tell you. These race massacres that occurred late 1800s, early 1900s all across our country. You had the so-called black side of town, the Negro side of town, attacked, destroyed. People ran off, people murdered, lynched, businesses taken over, burned down, land just taken, acquired. By who? Europeans. This is how many Europeans came up, because during this period, you had the Great Depression. And you had a lot of animosity when you had poor so-called white people, and they're looking over at the black people being industrious, the so-called blacks, the Asiatics, being industrious, building their own cities, building their own towns, having their own businesses. And so they went and took that stuff. Right. And I'm not saying they took it without a fight. I'm not saying that our people didn't put up a fight. I'm just saying this occurred. And so the prophet's coming. He's like, look, we need to stop trying to amalgamate. We need to get ours together. Let's build our nation up. Let's focus on us. Let's switch the focus. Because there's a program, there's an agenda right now. If you are perceptive, you see, like, there's a lot of interracial stuff now on TV, movies, even in commercials, where stuff like that was taboo. That wasn't cool, but now it's being promoted as a method, as a means of survival for people whose birth rate is at a negative. So the prophet's getting us to focus on our own. Hey, if everyone else's birth rate is at a negative and we're just focusing on us, guess what? We're good. We can't do that if the leaders don't even follow the prophet. Okay, Islam, I see you, brother Molden Bay says you need to connect your mic and your cam before you can add to the stream. So you gotta turn that stuff on. Okay. So let's just go in here. Yeah, it's still not connected. You in here, but it's saying I can't put you in the stream till you connect. So let's go in here. So I'm still looking at the chat more. Still looking at the chat. All right. The links in the chat on Facebook and YouTube. If there's people that want to come in here, want to chime in on this topic. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Islam, but I understand. You know, it is confusing and it's ridiculous to have all of these people trying to claim to be the official. It's ridiculous. And everyone that contributes to the confusion, anyone out there that's trying to say they're the official Moorish Science Temple of America, they're part of the problem. They're part of the problem. Because you have people out here who don't have a pot to piss in. They don't have a building for their home office, quotation mark home office. They don't have a building. They don't have any businesses. They're not producing anything. Look, it's not rocket science. It's not that hard to produce something. Okay? We just have we just have our local temple in Ohio, and we're producing something. Okay, not saying we perfect or nothing, but if we can do it, why can't we're the official Moorish Science Temple of America, why can't they do it? Y'all the official Moorish Science Temple of America, but y'all sending people to get their fez from Lauderer. When we immediately, when we heard that, it was just like in the head, my head was like, oh, hell no. Why? Because went and looked up Lauderer. I'm like, okay, this ain't Asiatic owned. Why y'all sending us over there? Everybody here, go follow Moorish Fez store on Instagram. What's going on? Oh, it's just Moorish Fez. Okay, we got to fix that link. Go follow Moorish Fez on. What the hell? Excuse me, Morris. What the? Okay, let me figure this out. Hey, that I don't understand why that's doing that, but okay, I think I know. More Fez on Instagram. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so everybody watching, make sure you go follow More Fez. It's just @MoorFez. Go follow that on Instagram. We need to get the followers up on there. This is a store for Moorish American owned and operated company that's actually making our own fezzes, shipping them out all over the world. It's not just me. This is the members here in Ohio in our temple. And, we actually send the stuff out when people get it, and they get it in timely fashion. It don't take a year to get it out to them, or 9 or 10 months. I'm saying this for a reason. Now, some people who are doing Moors wrong, they know what I'm talking about, and they think I'm talking about them personally. But unfortunately, it's so many people doing things in that matter, not taking anything seriously. It's a lot. But we ship it out for real. So you actually get what you ordered. Nobody trying to get over on you. They top quality. We even have fezzes so large that they could easily fit people's heads with dreadlocks. Okay? So, yeah, we send them out for real. Got to hide the people's address. I ain't trying to put their info out there. I ain't even trying to put the people's info out there who are in violation. The ones that's married to the European that's in leadership. I ain't doing that to them, but that's wrong. That's wrong. And it's not wrong because I said so. It's wrong because the prophet said so. So we need to get that up. Moors, everybody watching, go follow More Fez on Instagram. Also the page on Facebook too, Moorish Fez store on Facebook. And you want to order your fez, go to moorishfez.com. And I'm saying this because once again, there's no reason you should have people claiming to be the official Moorish Science Temple of America, and they not even producing one thing. The prophet had it established in his time where every local temple was supposed to have businesses, grocery stores. It's 2023. It's what? It's 93 years later, right? 94 years, 93 years later. And where's the Moorish grocery stores? So you can't say you're the official Moorish Science Temple of America if you're not really doing anything. So that's what part of the problem too. You got all these people claiming to be the official Moorish Science Temple of America. What are they adding to the pot? What are they bringing to this divine movement to make it better? They just claiming to be the official because of their lineage, which if you watch the brother Taharka Bay, Moorish World TV, he destroyed that whole lineage claim. He destroyed it. Now, it is important to have leadership who have ties to the prophet, the people who are actually there with the prophet, who actually tried to follow the prophet. I think that's important so that you can have that wisdom passed down. Okay? But other than that, it's a lie. And when you have a foundation built off lies, that's why you'll have these problems then where they're allowing, to have leaders married to pale-skinned Europeans. Just like they'll have leaders who are unmarried, or they'll even have leaders who they'll have leaders is gay, man. There's no telling what they'll do. The Moors are getting real trifling, really trifling. Like there's no respect. Islam. Oh, brother Motor Bay, if you were trying to get in, you got something happened. You got dropped. Okay, but let's keep it moving. Okay. So moving forward, I'm still looking in the chat. Man, let me scroll back up to your first comment. Not like people are following the law when the country's still owned by them. Do you bank with them? Is that okay? I mean, as I just said earlier, we are in disarray. If anybody is in denial about that, like where's our Moorish banks? There's Asiatic-owned banks, but where's the strictly Moorish banks? Who else are you going to bank with, right? Why don't the temples, link together and form a credit union? Yeah. So it is our own people, though. It's our own people holding us back. Islam. Islam. So people, I mean, as I was saying earlier when the brother was talking about people that's biracial, if their parents were classified, or one or both of their parents classified as black, that means they black. And so that means that they need to come in and proclaim their nationality and just like all of us, learn that they are not Negro, colored, black, Ethiopian, African American, right? Don't matter how light or dark skinned you are. We're talking about those people, specifically those people. And they say that the prophet, there's some oral statements that say that the prophet did bring in some of the other Asiatics from other countries. If they wanted to come into the temple and join, he said, we just adopted them into our tribe. All right. I see another comment too saying the Moorish American marrying a Chilean and then having a child does not apply to this topic. Yeah, that don't apply because that's an Asiatic. Most Chileans are Asiatic. Now you have some people that live in Central South America that their descent, even though they're born over there, their parents were born over there, their descent is from Germany and other places. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the indigenous people of all of these places. Just like, you marry somebody who's Jamaican, right? My wife, her family's from the Caribbean, right? These are all the same people. And especially, the people of African descent. There's no denial about that. All right. So this is not the same as marrying somebody who's from the pale skinned nations, right? So Chilean, there's a lot of so-called white Argentinians just from being down there in South America. I've seen that, but still, you have a lot of these people in, Argentina, Peru, and all of these places that are Asiatic, right? So this is not talking about that. They're Asiatic. Just like if you married somebody from Ethiopia, they're Asiatic. That's not an issue. So the issue, the prophet specifically said, he didn't say anything about Ethiopians or Chileans or Puerto Ricans or Jamaicans. No, he said, we do not desire to amalgamate into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. And so to be a leader now, that's a bad example. If you're a leader and you're married to the pale-skinned nations of Europe, you can't be in that position. And the Moors that push for that and the Moors that accepted that are all in violation. Islam, brother, is still saying you have to connect your mic and cam before you can add to the stream. Islam, brother, Islam. Oh, yeah, we played that brother's video in the beginning. Islam, make sure you go subscribe to Nelson L on YouTube. All right. So when you say okay, why not? I'm going back through the comments. So what are you saying why not to? Will Asian be okay as well? We're specifically speaking about the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Everybody else is Asiatic. Believe it or not. I'm gonna say false on this question about Garvey being married to a European aristocrat's daughter. I don't know what you know. I haven't seen the videos you've seen. All I've seen and read about is his wife Amy, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just going off the dome. I believe his wife's name was Amy Garvey, and she was definitely one of us. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, she was from here, like from North America. Garvey was from Jamaica. So, I never heard about that, though. That might be one of those internet conspiracies. You got so many, man, people say so much stuff. There's so much stuff online, man. I don't know. I never heard that, though. Islam. And definitely, we could do a podcast together in the future, brother Gray L. Islam. All right. So yeah, it's so much confusion though, and we have this, this agenda that's being pushed, this interracial agenda, and there's nothing wrong. I'm not knocking interracial, nothing. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying this is being pushed now when the same people who are pushing it now were against it. Why are they for it now? Because it's a rat backed into a corner type situation. They're looking at their negative birth rates and birth rates at a negative. That's why they're pushing it. They have their own reasons for pushing it. Has nothing to do with us. Okay? Islam, yeah. Gratitude for sharing that. Go to moorishfez.com to get your fez. We're in Columbus, Ohio. Go to moorishamericans.com. That's the website for our local temple. I'll put it in the chat. Moorishamericans.com. Okay, so let me get up here. Okay, Islam. So yeah, for the brother in Cincinnati, this is the website for us, moorishamericans.com. All right, let me get back on topic too. Man, Islam, everybody that's here though. Thank you for adding to the build. Thank you. All right, that's the website for our local temple. Okay, so let's. I don't want to leave anybody out. All right, Islam. Yes, it would be nice to have a Moorish bank. That's what needs to be getting worked on instead of everyone trying to claim they're the official temple, and this is why they need to come under us. They are going to come under you because you're not operating properly. They're not. So I don't know how these people think that's going to happen. All right. Yeah. And so I'm not, if you're asking me, I'm not asking that question about if it's okay for Europeans to be married to, for Moorish American leaders, sheiks, to be married to pale skinned Europeans. I'm definitely not asking that question because I already know the answer. But unfortunately, yeah, this does need to be addressed because you actually have Moorish Americans who's okay with having a Grand Sheik married to a European, right? Yeah, Moors in leadership and everything. They cool with it. They set it up. They got it. And that's foul because they are out of law. And, you don't have to study the Quran for years to know that. That's one of the first things you learn. Just go to chapter 48. Okay, so yeah, marrying them, creating blood ties, right? And then joining the temple or running the temple, you can't do that. And if there's a conflict of interest, what happens when this Grand Sheik or these leaders are reading the Quran? There's certain parts they don't want to read, even some of the literature from the Prophet. Or they're reading it and everybody that knows their situation looking at them funny, like, how the hell can you read this? It's a violation. It's a conflict of interest. Now we have to keep this person secret. It's crazy. You can't do that, Moors. We're supposed to live in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We can't stand on the truth if we can't even stand on the law that our prophet established. We have a little thing, well, I'm cool with the prophet saying that, but, that's my boy. I'm going to make him the Grand Sheik, even though, no, that we can't do that. We have to stick to the law, right? And so I see that too. People try to find exceptions. They try to find ways to skirt around it. People, and I hopefully that's people doing it in their ignorance because they don't really know what this movement's really about. They don't really understand the prophet. I hope they're doing it out of ignorance. But you have some people who I know aren't doing it out of ignorance because they're in leadership and other Moors accept them as leaders. And they're the ones who allow this stuff to occur. So when you bend the prophet's law for that, now it's no confusion as to why you break the prophet's law and bend the prophet's law in several other ways. This is why we had to leave those Moors, right? This is why we had nothing to do with the administration under Keith Andrew jail. We have nothing to do with them. Nothing. They need to take our names off of their website. We told them that they're going to have to get a cease and desist order. Might have to pursue legal action because they still got us up there and they still take finance. We have no idea how much finance they collect and telling people they have a temple here or mission or whatever they want to call it. It's like, look, we want nothing to do with y'all. Okay. When people bend the law in one corner or in one area, you can't be surprised when they then go and break that law in several other areas. You can't. You can't. Right. And then also when Moors have no problem with breaking the prophet's law here and there, and they're doing things like that, it turns people off. And if you're in leadership and you're turning people away from this divine movement, if you have any dignity, you have to stop. You have to step down. Right. You have to. So just the words that's up on the screen, just for the most part, this is letting people know what this movement was really about, what it is really about. Now, the prophet came. Yes, there's an international message that's for the whole world. There's a universal message, but he specifically came to us to warn his people. Who's my people the prophet speaks about? Because when you look at the Quran questionnaire, the prophet's letting you know when he was born, he's from North Carolina. What's his nationality? Moorish American. What's your nationality? Moorish American. That's the my people. And that same my people mentioned in Acts 6, who had these marks of scorn, Negro, black, colored, Ethiopian, now African American. That's who his people is. So he came to warn his people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind of their forefathers, to their forefathers' divine and national principles. So we can't repent from our sinful ways, right? And which is specifically clinging to those labels that allude to slavery, but also the mindset and the actions that come along with that, right? We can't do this if we refuse to let that stuff go. It's time now to claim our own free national name and religion. And so you can't do that if in chapter 48, it's telling you specifically, hey, we return in Church of Christianity back to the European. We're not amalgamating with them, but then you're going to have people in that you can't, you see? So for anyone that's new to this or just now seeing this maybe for the first time, now you see. Because then what happens now, you're going to have a conflict. Maybe that own Grand Sheikh's children can't even come into the temple because there's a conflict. Because his children obviously racially mixed, and people's going to be looking and asking questions, right? The wife's not there because most people would have a problem with that. So it's like, come on, there's a problem. So as a leader, the leader should be married. Ideally, the wife and children are in there, because how can we really have a nation if we're not married and we're not raising our children in the nation? Right? Right. When we coming into the temple, we want to see the children in there. Our children are going to be in there. We want to see other members' children in there, because there's no nation. There's no future. Right. It can't just be some adults in there. No, it needs to be adults of all age ranges, and it needs to be children of all age ranges, or else it's not a real nation. Islam. The sun is getting hotter. They need to survive. So they, that's one of the reasons why this whole mixing thing, this whole, it's no longer taboo. It's okay for everybody now. Whereas before, we were, people were getting lynched for this stuff. Lynched. I want to show you some other reasons why the prophet did this, though. And some of it should be common sense. And I agree with you there. The temples, come on, man. Nobody wants to be at a boys' club. This is the temple. It's supposed to be a nation. We're supposed to be building a nation. Okay? You can't build a nation with a bunch of dudes, just like you can't build a nation with a bunch of women. Just like you can't build a nation just with a bunch of single men and single women. You're going to have more, this is why we have marriage instructions in the Holy Koran. We're going to have to come in, be married, and raise our families in the temple. Okay? So one reason, though, why we can't have leaders that are married to Europeans. I'll give you one example. This is, oh gosh, what was this guy's name? Kama. He was a leader of Botswana, right? And he was actually leader during the independence, when Botswana claimed its independence from England. And look who he married. He married a pale-skinned European woman from London. She was just a store clerk, or she was like a clerk at Lloyd's of London. Okay? And that's a conflict of interest. Her name was Ruth Williams, right? Married 1948. Says he was an African prince studying law in London. He married her. She was a clerk at Lloyd's of London. Married her, made her the first lady of Botswana. Okay? And this is when they're getting their independence later on from the British government. Okay? And these are people who, he's not the only one, but you had different leaders of different African nations doing this. And then you turn around and you look at those same countries and you see that these people were allowing different European nations to come in, take the resources of the land. Botswana has all these diamonds, right? Some of the largest diamond mines in the earth. They allow them to come in, take from the land, give the people nothing. Okay? And it's not a question as to why this is occurring. Frederick Douglass, Looking at Frederick Douglass, like he's held up as a hero. Black History Month, Frederick Douglass, right? Frederick Douglass, his wife of 40 years passed away. She was Asiatic. She was with them in the Underground Railroad, all this stuff, right? Freedom fighter. What'd he do? He turned around, married a European woman. Okay. And what happened? Now, they're saying that her family, she came through abolitionist family, like her parents were abolitionists. All right. But when they found out that she married Frederick Douglass, they didn't accept it. And they were devout abolitionists. They were against slavery. Her father, Gideon Pitts, refused to talk to her, excluded her from the will. Right? It was unaccepted by everyone. His children, Frederick Douglass' children, were opposed. They're like, you're a sellout. Their mother died like wasn't even 2 whole years earlier. Like, what the hell are you doing? The entire country looked at it in the negative light. Okay, and I'm sharing this because, like, there were some questionable things about this, even the nature of, like, what would make you want to do this? You're supposed to be a leader for the people. He was over the Freedmen's Bank, right? Freedmen's Savings Bank. This was one of the things that happened. You had the Freedmen's Bureau. Now, after the Civil War, they were supposed to give us land. They were even supposed to redistribute land from different Europeans and distribute it out to our people and assist us with building our own and taking, doing everything that we needed for ourselves. Right. And that's the Freedmen's Bureau. Now, the Freedmen's Savings and Bank came out of that. Frederick Douglass was over it. There was a whole bunch of corruption going on with this. You had later on, the bank wound up going bottom up. And the people who had money in there, these are Asiatic people, they lost out on all of their savings or most of their savings. I'm trying to get the amount. The amount was in this article. But it was like a ridiculous amount of money for that time period in the 1800s. Here we go. The bank's closing did more than shatter the dreams of Douglass and others with high hopes in his future. It left 61,144 depositors with losses of nearly $3 million, which in the 1800s, $3 million today, like I don't even know how much that would be, but it'd be like an astronomical amount of money, right? Only a few of the depositors were able to recoup a share of what was owed to them. Okay, and so all that stuff went bottoms up, and for the most part, people didn't get their land that they were supposed to get. The Freedmen's Bureau, and I hate to say this. I don't want people to feel bad or whatever, but there's a conflict of interest when you're married to a European, especially if you are in leadership. Okay? There's a serious conflict of interest. And anything that you're doing now is questionable. All right? And it doesn't matter how much work these people have done. All right? Everything that you do now is questionable. Islam, I see that the brother Molden Bay, the brother was allegedly he was mulatto, mixed race. He didn't know who his father was. He never knew who his father was. They said it was one of the I guess the white landowners or something like that, so-called white people. But we don't know. But yeah, look. This was established for a reason. Just going off of what was in chapter 48, there's no reason on earth any temple should have any Moorish leaders, not just the Grand Sheikh, any sheiks, any ministers who are married to Europeans. Okay? There even comes a conflict of interest when members, the rank and file members, because at some point in time, like we have to be getting these lessons. Like how, it may be of conflict of interest for them, even just being members, because every time we come to chapter 48, they're going to be looking at this like, what y'all have a problem with my union, with my marriage? Like, come on, man. These are our divine instructions. Do you have a problem with these divine instructions from the prophet? Are you cool with this? This should be actually something that should be discussed with people who are coming in to join if they're in an interracial relationship. It should be discussed with them like, this is in our Quran, right? You don't have a problem with this, do you? Do you? Like, we can't be that thirsty to try to get people in. Is when you do that, the people that join, they're not going to be in for long anyway. It's like, look, this is what we stand on. It's just like, people are homosexual. It's like, look, we have marriage instructions between man and wife, right? We're not going to change that for you. I don't care what you say. We're not changing it. These are divine instructions. And so if we have divine instructions from our prophet, why do we have people that's in leadership that want to change that stuff or want to overlook it? Because I get it with the people who don't know any better, who are trying to find excuses to get around it. I get that. But what about the people who claim to know better? What about the people claiming to be the official Moorish Temple of America? But you look at them, they're extremely unofficial. They're allowing anything and everything to go. Right. And, looking at that, like, if Frederick Douglass knew that his mother was raped by a so-called white man, why the hell? I don't care how old he was. Why the hell would you go and marry a pale-skinned European? Why? In addition to that, right, you're fighting against slavery, right? And at least, what we're told, he's fighting to get what's owed to us, the land and everything. Why the hell would you go in that direction? Now, I get it for other people. They don't know nothing. Come on, man. It doesn't make any sense. So you have to look at that. Like, is this your handler? Just out of, yeah. And, I mean, it's easy to, to talk about somebody who's passed away. It's just my opinion. Doesn't make any sense. Right. Maybe his previous wife got on his nerves so much. He's like, look, I can't take it no more. I don't know. Who knows? But we understand what our divine instructions are, and that we can't go against them. So when people are against them, when people in leadership allow these things to happen, they have to be removed. Why? Because these laws are to be strictly preserved by the members of all the temples of the Moorish Temple of America. So you can't have these attempts to change and twist the prophet's words, because the laws are clearly cut and to be strictly preserved. They're not to be changed. They're not to be altered, right? They're not to be erased. You can't just change it to fit the desires of those who do not agree. It's not like everything else on the internet too, where you can just do whatever you want. Okay? It's not like that. So it's strict. We as a clean and pure nation descended from the inhabitants of Africa do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. That's what we said at the beginning, and that's what we're saying at the end, because that's it. That's all we need to know. No, it's a no-go. It's a no-go. So anyone that's doing that is in supreme violation. They're out of law. And everyone involved in that is now in violation as well. There's no other way around it. How do you co-sign on this? How do you go along with this? It's out of law. And so if you don't have confidence in your prophet, you not only are in violation, you need to turn in your card and button, cease wearing your turban and fez, and return to the state where the prophet found you. That's it. That's another thing. You'll see there's people even in some of these groups, even in leadership, who have no confidence in the prophet. They're saying that he's not a prophet. They're saying all types of things, and they're spreading this throughout the ranks. And that's not what is supposed to be occurring. They're doing the opposite of what leaders in the Moorish Temple of America are supposed to be doing. right? They're destroying confidence in the movement, destroying confidence in the prophet. And I've seen that occur too. So you can't have this. And when you have Moors that allow this to occur, they're weakening the structure, they're weakening the temple. And it's like they come in here to do that on purpose. That's the only reason they're here, is because it's over. It's over for the Europeans to rule over the Asiatics of the world, not just of America. The time's up. So all of the schemes and things that they keep doing, these are just things to give them a little bit more time. And the only way it works is if our own people assist them. The prophet, now I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's really simple what the prophet did to return us to the family of nations. All we have to do is come in and be who we are. Return to our own vine and fig tree. We have international rights. We have local rights. We have the same rights that everyone else has. And now we know who we are, so we know to look out for ourselves. All of you people that want to include everyone else, why can't we have nothing that's just ours? So we're supposed to build our own nation up. We have our own focus, our own agenda. And we strengthen ourselves and get everything that we need for ourselves. Come and link yourselves with the family of nations. Now we can do that because we're building our own nation just like everyone else does. Now we can be on equal footing with everyone else. And now we can show the world that there's still much to be learned among the descendants of Africans, right? Does they want to act like we the ones that's ooga booga coming out of the caves and living in mud huts and all of this stuff, when in reality, we the ones that created civilization. So now we can show that. That's what it's really about. And so for those that want to include everyone, look, just go back to the Holy Koran, verse 17, chapter 47, right? The nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the words Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. So once he did this, he solved the problem. Now we know who we are. Now we're no longer going up under them or anyone else. Their religion, we're not trying to spread the wealth, right? You have an estate and now you're passing it down to other people. No, we're looking out for ourselves, building our own families up because we know who we are. We know that we are a pure nation, right? We have our own nation, our own creed, and it's time to look out for ourselves. This is not to the detriment of anyone else. This is to the betterment of ourselves, because we have to do what everyone else is doing. So there really shouldn't be any confusion about where we stand. And for anyone else out there, just in case there's any other temples doing this in the wrong, they know they're in the wrong having leaders that's married to pale-skinned Europeans. You are out of law. You are severely out of law. You are flagrantly out of law. And not only is the leader who's in that position out of law, but the people who co-signed him, who put him in that position, they're all out of law. And they're the reason why everything is still at square one for us. Why we still have to start all the way over to build our temple up, to build our nations up, right? Because we have our own people setting the standard low when the prophet set it high. The prophet set it high. If that's too high for you, get on up out of here. Return to the state where the prophet found you, because you can't, this standard's too high for you. All right. And you're trying to lower it down to your level, and your level is the lower self. We can't do that. If there's some things that I got to clean up about myself and have to be better at, I need to do it. I'm not going to try to lower everything down to that level because that's where I want to be at. And if that's what I want to do, I definitely don't need to be in any kind of leadership position. Not saying that any of us are perfect, but come on, we have to raise the standard. So everybody that's here, please click like and share this video. Help to spread this information out there because there's confusion from people who don't know where we stand. So that needs to be known. And there's nothing you could do for the people in the temple who know better, who are trying to lower the standard. They need to be placed on restriction. And actually, the prophet laid it down. They're to turn in their card and buttons. He's wearing a turban and fez. So they're not even supposed to be members anymore. They need to be stripped. Everyone needs to know this Moor has been in leadership and they go against the prophet. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and end it. I don't want to go too long, Moors, but just wanted to make sure it's understood where we stand. And for these people who want to do the opposite, they're not brothers and sisters. They are enemies. They are enemies, Moors. And, you know, for the people that's here listening, look, if you see Moors in flagrant violation like that, you know what to do, right? They can't be in those positions, and they need to go on and turn in their card and button, get up out of here. We don't have time for this. The prophet let it be known. These are the last days. The great wrath is sure to come. We don't have time to play around. Get these folks up out of here. Stop playing games. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. They're not your brothers and sisters. They are your enemies. They're enemies of the prophet, and that means they are your enemies. There's no reason why we should allow these things to occur. We have to keep the bar high where the prophet said it. Islam. So on that note, let's go ahead and get up out of here. I do appreciate everybody chiming in and sharing, and especially those who came with the prophet's words, because for us, that is the standard. I don't know what anybody else says, but for us, that's the standard. It's a divine movement. It's not a social group. It's not just anything goes. We have laws. If sometimes those laws mean that we need to pick ourselves up, we need to change. Okay? And look, you could say fellow man, right? We show respect, we show love, but no. Even some Asiatics are not our brothers and sisters. They are enemies. Okay? Now, some Europeans are well-wishers. They're friends of the movement. They assist. But they can't join. They didn't get marked with Negro, black, and colored. There has to be an understanding of this. It's clear. You can't just change it up to fit you. There was a guy who got a YouTube channel. He was mad because, you know, he was up here telling people that Europeans can join when they can't. And we proved that with the prophet's words. That video is on his channel too, if you want to understand what that was said for. But this is plain and clear that he made it for those people who were marked with Negro, black, colored, and African American now, because that's evolved into African American. African American black means that you descend from the black racial groups of Africa when everybody else comes from an original peoples of some part of the world. Everyone except for the so-called black African American. So it's still the same as Negro. This is who it's for. And then the other Asiatics, right? We understand that they're also part of the family, but it's specifically for those, as the brother said, perfectly worded, the fallen Asiatics. All right. Living in Brazil for 5 years, I do know that the Afro-Brazilians are labeled as Negro in their own country. Like, they still use the word Negro, not like us. We, you know, African American. They still use the word Negro, right? So throughout the Americas, right, Jamaicans, Dominicans, Haitians, right? These people too, in many ways, in the same situation as us. But these are the people it's specifically for, right? Those fallen, marked with those marks of scorn removed from the family of humans. Okay. And so you can't come and change that just because you want to. Right? If you do, there's some who will gladly take it over. And they will take it and do things with it that we apparently won't. All right. Matter of fact, if they were supposed to, in their organizations, not amalgamate with us, especially their leaders, guess what? They wouldn't do it. They would follow. If they had a prophet, they would follow their prophet. Right. So that's what we need to be doing more. Let's go ahead and follow our prophet. And those of you that's here, make sure you hit the like and share button. I'm just going to run through some things real quick. Everybody here, make sure you go to moorishfez.com. It's just moorishfez.com. Go there and purchase your fez from us. Moorish American owned, operated. And we also have the extra large size fez for the brothers with dreadlocks. Sisters, it's not for sisters. I mean, the fezzes are for the brothers, right? The brothers wear the fez or the turban. Sisters wear the turban. If you're members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, you wear the turban, and also put that button in the middle, right? And we have reasons for doing that. It's specifically for us. This is our culture. And just going back again, go to moorishfez.com. Get your fez from us. You scroll down, click on it. You can order that fez. We'll get it out to you. All right. You just pick your size, and we will get that out to you. Also, on Instagram, you want to get the followers up on Instagram on the fez. It's just more fez on Instagram. So make sure you go to More Fez. You can also follow Moors in America on Instagram. Everybody watching, follow Moors in America on Instagram, and also follow More Fez on Instagram as well, and help share our posts. And we appreciate everybody here. Thank you all for coming. And yes, you can actually get the fez over your locks. You can pull that fez down over your locks. It will fit. I haven't had anybody yet tell us that they couldn't fit the fez. And so it's pretty big. And even some of the brothers had like real long locks, like real big, thick locks too. So this is the fez for you. Okay. So on that note, we're up out of here, Morris. Everybody hit like and share. Peace and love. Appreciate you all.